Starting to the top right, after defeating Boom Boom, the Protoss player facing a Terra now. As for Team AZUBU.
AZUBU Genius.
Winning the match against Boom Boom with an ingenious move.
Certainly so.
Incredible timing, at least. And starting to the bottom left, we have his opponent. Starting for Team StarTale.
StarTale Bomber.
Kind of like the face of his team.
He definitely is. And this guy is so unbelievably good.
It really is. And I'm wondering what sort of build we're going to see out of him. Probably on this map, we will see a CC first. It happens to be cross spawns. Go Bomber with some actual stealth bombers. I like that. Engineers love StarCraft 2. And indeed they do. As they should.
Yeah, I think if, you know, for Squirtle we always have the water Pokemon. If we actually go for Bomber, I always think about Bomberman.
Yeah,
the game
Bomberman.
that you can play, like the original one, the really
old one where you put the bomb in the corner and you have to run away really fast.
Yeah, exactly. Those were like so much fun and they were like incredible.
I'm just waiting for the mobile version of Bomberman to come out for like Android so I can play with my friends.
Yeah, actually that would be really good. That would be so much fun. I don't think that exists just yet. But that would be very cool. I played that. I think I could even play that on my 386 back then. That was like ages ago.
I played that all the time with my friends, like on the PC even. Just we'd all sit together and like use different parts of the keyboard, mess around with each other. It was fun.
I don't know what kind of name the 386 had in the US, but that is actually a PC. You're just too young for that role.
Was that the Commodore thing?
No. That was the first real PC that you had.
I know the...
I don't know what exactly the name was in the US. In Germany and Europe, it was the 386er.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the Compy 386 that Strong Bad used to use, but that's all I can really remember. Well,
coming into this game right now, let's talk a little bit about their performance in this matchup. If you look at Bomber, we have, of course, a couple of statistics here on screen that you guys might also pick up. Remember, they include Wings of Liberty as well. The statistics that we talk about are only Heart of the Swarm. And when we talk about offline and Heart of the Swarm for Bomber in this matchup, then he has played 17 maps and he won 47% of them, which is not the best win ratio against Protoss. If you then look at his matches, the difference between those two statistics is that a match can, of course, consist of several maps that you have to play against an opponent. So if you look at the matches itself, he won 60%. This means even though he occasionally drops a map every now and then, if it comes down to the matches against certain players, he does a lot better. So even if he's down a game in a best of 3, he usually bounces back. But this is a best of 1. Yeah. So the match score is a little bit more important. And there he has a win ratio against Protoss that is below 50%. So definitely one of his weaker matchups in Heart of the Swarm.
This bait here with the SCV is going to potentially cost Genius his Mothership Core depending on how it gets used here. We could, of course, save it with a Time Warp, but Bomber is aggressively moving out with a Widow Mine now. He's going to literally pressure with his first few Marines and SCV and a Widow Mine. He's going to set up this contain before the Observer is out so that no mining can actually happen at this Nexus that's just completed.
What's actually also interesting is that back in February we had already an offline match between Genius and Bomber, and Genius won that. Genius was able to take Bomber out there.
Is he actually trying to activate this Widow Mine? What is he doing?
I do not know.
I think he's just trying to make sure it's still burrowed, because you can see it for just a second if you walk next to it. If you just don't stay on the threshold long enough, you don't die.
Maybe he wants to be cute there, I have no idea, but he's definitely playing with fire.
Now he's going to actually have to move his Stalker, because here comes the Hellion, 4 Marines here, even a 5th one joining, and the SCV. He could even try to bunker using this pressure.
This is Bomber just once again being a little bit aggressive, moving in right now with the units that he has.
Hellbat follow-up.
Yeah, and there comes the drop into the main base. He still has a Hellion and also a Widow Mine, but this is the time when Genius is really pressured, and he needs to make sure that he knows exactly where the mothership is going, where the Medivac is going to move.
He needs to be careful about that Widow Mine. There's the overcharge at the natural. The bunker is started. The Observer is out.
Yeah, but the Widow Mine's not in range. Oh, the Mothership Core is immediately being attacked. It goes down.
And he's going for the target here on this pylon. There's 2 gateways there. He will unpower them, but he's going to need to run his Marines away.
Yeah, and there goes the pylon, and immediately he backs off and tries to go into the mineral line maybe even. But he sees the Widow Mine, takes it out with the Zealots. Another drop here occurring immediately with the Marines trying to do some damage, especially against the Harvesters here. So decent job actually killing quite a few of those and trying to take down the Sentry as well, and he might succeed.
Now, very carefully holding that back by Genius, and the Probe's actually coming out here. Needs to get that Guardian Shield on the Probes, but he will lose a Sentry as a result. And This was really a big win for Bomber, especially because he got the Mothership Core and that Sentry. Everything else, though, I mean, the workers that he killed doesn't really give him an advantage because his CC is so late, he doesn't even have a second orbital yet. But that was still a positive exchange for him.
Yeah, it definitely was. We have currently also the first Immortal being built and the second one following suit right away. So it looks like Genius, on the other hand, tries to be a bit aggressive on his own. And we have him with roughly the same amount of harvesters that Bomber has, who's still trying to sneak in with the Hellion. Not gonna achieve too much here, or at least he shouldn't be able to.
Gets one probe. This is a great counter what we see here from Genius. He will actually get a few probe kills, Bomber, that is. He's even up the supply a little bit, but usually when you go for this type of build, you don't have stim very quickly, and you have a very small bio army. So if you get attacked by Immortals after your drop is defended, you struggle to hold because you don't have a lot to defend back at home.
Yeah, on the other hand, Genius is now using everything for the attack that you just mentioned, and Bomber sends out another Medivac across the map. That could do a lot of damage here. But you're right, he needs to have a little bit more defense than that, because at this point he doesn't have a lot at home, and with those two Immortals in the mix, the bunker is not going to last for long.
Yeah, he's adding 2 additional bunkers, but they're not going to have a whole lot inside of them. Yeah, the Hellbat drop is the big problem, though. Like
exactly. With the Hellbats being dropped, and look at all those SCVs already in position. And here comes the Hellbat drop in the main base, and that has not been spotted just yet. Bomber actually earlier sent another Medivac in just to scout, and that threw Genius off a little bit, I feel. Here comes the repair, the force fields immediately thrown down to get those SCVs away from the bunker at the front. The Hellbats taking down those sentries.
Yeah, the sentry's actually falling here, and
the rest of the bunkers is completed. He can now use them, but he doesn't do that just yet. And Genius is moving back while Bomber is still harassing the natural.
Yeah, he keeps a lot of his probes alive here. He needs to move in, though, and continue the attack on Bomber's natural. He can't actually wait like this. He needs to be focusing on that.
He's losing so much mining time now, Wolf. He is losing so much there.
It looks like Bomber considered dropping the Hellbats on top of the sentries. Looks like this Hellbat will finally be forced to lift.
Well, actually, the Hellbat's nearly taking down those Stalkers, and Genius is completely focused on this, and here come the probes!
Oh, a good pull there on the last second. Oh!
And he considers dropping again, but moves back for now, and this is the time when Genius decides to go on with his attack, but there are already a lot of units he could drop on top of the army with the Hellbats.
Yeah, this is really, really tense because even though Bomber is in a really tense situation, Genius cannot afford to mess up his micro here. If he's going to commit, he has to micro perfectly, and I don't think he's going to commit here. He's just really trying to keep the pressure on, force the SCVs off the line, force minerals to be spent in the bunkers. Worker count right now in favor of Bomber, so he has the much better economy by 12 workers and the mules.
Exactly, yeah, and Genius has to fight now, and here comes the drop on top of that army with those Hellbats. They are everywhere, taking down Zealots, sentries, and a few Stalkers alive. A lot of damage being dished out here. The bunkers, they are not all
Bomber
done just
might not
yet.
have enough units, man.
Yeah.
He lost all his bunkers already. He traded all of his army for harassment, but he has nothing to defend here. His stim is not ready. He's very exposed in the main base, and here comes Genius. GG!
Game over. Genius takes game number 3 against Bomber. Wow.
You know, it's a great counter to what Bomber did. Genius predicted there would be a Hellbat drop follow-up, and when you do this, you just don't have a lot of bio. You can make all the bunkers you want, but there's nothing really inside of them.
Yeah, he was trying to get the rest of the units in there, but the force field's actually blocking the way of the units, so they couldn't get into position. He really was hoping that those Hellbats that he dropped on top of that army would do a bit more damage. And they took out a fair share of units and damaged the rest, but there was just not enough follow-up behind it. And this is horrible for StarTale.
Yeah, they lost Bomber. Really, really a hard loss to take this early on in the Team League match.
For Genius, this was once again an all-in move. He was so far down in the harvester count that if Bomber holds, he has the perfect economy and can just carry that into the late game. But as it turns out, the defense was just not there.
Genius used all of the resources he had left from, the losses he took in his economy to power through that attack. A lot of Zealots at the front. And the Hellbat drop on the army, Genius ignored them with his Immortals, kept the Immortals focused on the bunkers and had everything else attack the Hellbats. That was a big key in his attack. And Genius now taking 2 wins, not the player that I think a lot of people were expecting to have so many wins early on here.
Yeah, and the win against Bomber of all people as well. So this just shows a little bit that the ratio in wins that we have for Bomber against Proto still holds strong.
Yeah.
But now it's a very difficult choice to make for StarTale. We could see a Zerg, we have Life and Golden on the bench now, we could see another Terran player, we could even see Avenge or Panic with the PvP, we've seen this in the past. But this is definitely a little bit awkward right now. Genius is not the player that you expect to lose a couple of maps against. Keep in mind, there's still Symbol on the map, on the bench, for example, for AZUBU, and that's the one player that you really expected to be the heavy hitter for the team.
I think sending somebody out like Golden would be the right choice. For me, Zerg seems to be the best option against Genius, especially considering, last time he had such a problem against Curious. He got a very nice timing at the end. They noticed that at the very last seconds here, his Immortals are shooting at that, but he focuses the front Immortal on the bunker. The Zealots come through here. The Medivacs are part of a Bomber's supply, but there's just nothing to heal.
Bomber was down 20 army supply when that battle occurred because he had such a huge Harvester lead on his opponent and was down in overall supply. So he just didn't have anything that he could put into those bunkers. Getting the bunkers up was really important, but then he didn't have anything that could really dish out the damage. The units were already damaged by the area effect damage of the Hellbats, but still, he needed something to focus down those units, and he didn't have it.
He traded his only army, which were mostly harassing units, for killing Economy, and then Genius already powering up those Immortals. If Genius was, after he lost all his pros, if he had just not known about the Hellbats, then he decided to try to make Immortals and then try to hit the timing, it wouldn't have worked. But he already predicted that Bomber was going to commit more to the harassment instead of just doing that one drop with the Widow Mines. He was like, I think you're going to commit a little bit more here.
The harass was actually like really worth it. The economy was so far down, but he didn't build enough units back at home. Committing those two Hellbats to the drops, that was so good. You could really see that Genius was struggling. Genius was trying to defend at home, and his entire army was just standing there and visible to Bomber as well. And Bomber probably thought, if I get this many bunkers, he's probably not even going to commit. But with all the damage that was dealt to Genius, he had no choice. He had to do something.
And it was his prediction. He already prepared the Immortals. He knew he was going to go for an attack. If Bomber had not made the Hellbats and just made bunkers at home, he would have still been ahead and actually would have been able to hold. But Genius was like, I think you're going to do some more harassment. I mean, you're going to commit some more resources, to an armory, to some Hellbats here.
Genius really starting to gather up the points here for AZUBU, and they must be really happy about this, taking out Curious and Bomber already. And now they are suddenly not only in the lead, but they still have the player here. They have Genius, who made this possible. And StarTale has to choose a new player. And who's it gonna be? It is Life.
Life coming out very early here.
We have a Zerg player, and it is going to be Life. Let's see what Genius can do against this guy. This is going to be a really important match for StarTale. And can Life overcome this small slump that he's in right now? Can he now deliver the points here in the GSTL? Or will StarTale suddenly fall down to a 1-3?
Yeah, they're sending out two heavy hitters in a row, Bomber and then Life. That is really, really putting your eggs into the same basket.
Not really. I actually like it because, if you send out Golden, Golden is a little bit weaker, and if Golden is taken out, you're still at 1-3. So it's like...
This guy's a problem. You got to take him out.
Exactly. You have to send someone out right now who can really beat Genius, because if he gets even up more momentum that he already has, he will become undefeatable at some point.
Genius is so unpredictable that it's so hard to snipe him. You can't really prepare a sniper for him, because Genius himself is kind of like a sniper. You just kind of put somebody out who you think is better than him and have him win.
You can't prepare anything for the guy, because there's not a lot of games out there that he played.
Exactly. So to play against Genius, you just have to pick somebody who you think is just overall better than him and have him play. Icarus is the map. So Life here going to be... probably has a special build plan for Protoss. Probably not for Genius specifically, but you can see Life, definitely a top-tier player. Just look at those stats. And these are, of course, including Wings of Liberty and GSTL stats only. But even in those, he's looking really strong.
Yeah, I think we actually have another short break before we go into the next match here. It's going to be match number 4, so we're going to head into another break, guys, and as soon as we are back, we have Genius going up against Life. See you guys in a few at the GSTL playoffs. AZUBU is up against StarTale.
I'll never forget it when Jackson